I completely understand that there are a lot of problems going on in the video game industry. We are seeing more failures than ever, it seems. We are seeing a lot of studios close down and a lot of developers having trouble getting jobs. But at the same time, they are the ones who have created the state the industry is in now, and it is still making hundreds of billions of dollars every single year. So when I see posts from game journalists and developers whining and moaning and groaning and complaining, all I can really say is you are getting what you deserve. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, a lot of people in a lot of different job types and markets are having trouble right now. A lot of companies are closing, a lot of layoffs are going on, and so this isn't an issue that is just happening with the video game industry, but of course the game journos want to make it seem like that's the case. They want to make it seem like the developers are going through all these problems unfairly when they have all created the situation that they are now in the middle of. I don't revel in the fact that people are losing their jobs, but as I always say, if you suck at your job, you don't deserve to have that job. And we see so many people in this industry constantly fighting their employers, constantly causing issues. So yeah, of course these companies would want to make sure they're getting rid of the dead weight as quickly as possible because they don't want to have to deal with some of these entitled brats that we see that go on social media and do tank projects, go on social media and attack fans and say this isn't the game for you and push potential sales away. It is not a good time to actually be somebody who is half decent in this industry because you just get lumped in with the rest of the lunatics. But Reese Kiwi Talks Riley had posted this saying, I don't think gamers really understand how bad of a state the video game industry is in right now. The Rockstar developer I am interviewing next week has been unemployed for a year. He can't find work, and this is someone who worked on LA Noire, Red Dead Redemption 1, GTA 5, and Red Dead Redemption 2. Even with an impressive resume, he can't even get interviews. I wasn't exaggerating when I said we are in the midst of an extinction level event of talent in the gaming industry. So, first of all, he is saying, oh, the developer I'm interviewing next week, because this is clearly some kind of promo to get you to follow him and stay interested until next week. So he's just desperate to keep you around, or else he could literally just probably release it now. I'd assume that he's already done it because from what I see, he doesn't do like live content. If you just take a peek at his YouTube channel, which has 23K subscribers, he doesn't interview anybody live. And if he already knows the details of the situation, it kind of sounds like he has it. Either way, maybe he doesn't. That isn't really important. It just seems like he is trying to get people interested in this interview to stop by next week. But second of all, he says, I don't think gamers really understand how bad of a state the video game industry is in right now. Why would we care how bad the industry is right now for AAA developers when for years you guys are the ones who have said we are gooners, racists, sexists, that we are terrible people, that the video game industry isn't for us anymore? And sure, maybe Reese specifically hasn't said that, but he is lumped in with journos because 98% of them are just really bad people and really selfish and cruel people. But also, gamers do understand the state that the gaming industry is in, and that is a state where the gaming industry made just under $200 billion in revenue in 2025. It has been increasing for years, and it is not some extinction level catastrophic collapsing situation that we are seeing. Yeah, I get that there are going to be people who are pretty good at their jobs, who are going to have tough times finding those jobs. Hey, newsflash, maybe you should be blaming the corpos who said we need to check off boxes on a checklist first and foremost instead of actually hire people based on merits. We have been saying this is a problem for a fucking decade now, and the journos and other developers have ignored us. Maybe if these companies wanted to make money again, they would be hiring people who are better at a job than the people corpos are hiring because they have a certain skin color, or they mark a certain sexuality on a piece of paper, or they push a certain angle of activism on their personal blue sky accounts. We know that the gaming industry is going through problems, but when I see they're bringing in $200 billion in revenue, I can't really sit here and shed a freaking tear that a few people are no longer going to be able to work in this industry. Maybe, I don't know, companies should change, and maybe you should be blaming the companies for this being the case. Why is it always right to, oh, the gamers? It's gamers' fault. I don't think gamers understand. Why isn't it, wow, these companies need to change something, and these companies need to change something quickly? You always are going to find a way to attack gamers first and foremost. Bye. This is why nobody really freaking cares. Okay, it's very hard to sympathize. And one major piece of the puzzle that we don't have information on is what this developer's political leaning is. And the reason I think that is so important is because Rockstar of old, when he was at Rockstar, was a very different company. They were hiring people based on merits. So, judging from then to now, this industry has shifted a lot. He might not be getting hired because he is not some lunatic lefty. He might not be getting hired because he is not willing to be vocal on social media or put pronouns in a fucking bio. This is critical information that is not being shared to us, and I'm very curious to see if it is a case where the problems that exist in the industry that we've been complaining about for years now, that people are only being hired if they are part of the collective, because collectivism is definitely a plague on the video game industry because it's either you're a lunatic lefty or bust. I'm very curious to see if he does or does not fall into that category. There are some other posts being made about this which make some really good points, like Daniel Friedman. He said the 40-person studio that made Expedition 33 is comprised of former Ubisoft developers. Ubisoft hasn't made a game as good as Expedition 33 in at least 10 years. Ubisoft employs 17,000 people. If all of them lose their jobs and some of those people manage to form even a single small studio that makes a game as good as Expedition 33, then we get one more great game to play than we would have had otherwise, because Ubisoft will never make a great game. Great games are not Ubisoft's business model, and that is why Ubisoft is unsalvageable. What is happening in the games industry right now is not the destruction of anything that deserves to be preserved. We are seeing the inevitable collapse of giant corporate studios that make mediocre games that nobody wants to play. And I've said this for a long time at this point. We need to see the AAA companies that exist now, which, by the way, tried to market themselves as quadruple A, fail. We need to see them be kicked to the curb. We need to see the double A's moved up to triple A's, the indies moved to double A's, and then it allows more room for indies to exist and to thrive. In my opinion, Team Cherry shouldn't be seen as just some small little studio. They deserve the world and more. Sandfall Interactive deserves the world and more, and they are doing fan-freaking-tastic. The problem that we could face if that happens is they become more of the problem, but given the success that they have already seen and the success that they're already going into potential deals with, it could mean that they stay a lot more independent, or they just stay a little bit more firm when it comes to their company morale and their company culture and things like that. Either way, though, all of this is true. I do not care about EA going under. I do not care about Ubisoft going under. I do not care about an Activision Blizzard going under. Do you know why? Because these companies have pushed the industry to what it is today in all of the wrong ways. Microtransactions that are predatory, loot boxes. We are talking about companies patenting AI that can control your speech and censor your game in real time, companies, yes, buying into DEI and ESG bullshit instead of hiring talented, passionate developers, and then them altering products, them working with companies like Sweet Baby Inc., who have no fucking business touching these types of games. Cry me a river and float upstream. Yes, I think that gamers do understand, and I think that gamers generally do not care. And sure, this industry, again, isn't collapsing. $200 million is a lot of fucking revenue, but they are trying to paint it as if, oh my gosh, it's doom and gloom and it's extinction level. Okay, stop being so freaking dramatic. Might I humbly suggest that the video game industry try making one game that isn't a hate letter to the people who actually buy games? You know, normal white men in their 20s who aren't perverts and don't have any mental illnesses? Also, it would help if it wasn't a soulless cash grab that bills itself as free to play, but requires a constant connection to an account with a credit card number so it can try to dip into your wallet every 2.4 seconds. I am not aware of any other industry that has such contempt for its customers or such disdain for the idea of giving them what they actually want. And why do you think it's gamers? Let me ask you this. When the word male gaze is used, where does your mind go? Because from here it looks like you're the one who is living under a rock. Willie hears ya. Willie doesn't care. They aren't looking for people who can make good games. Those people cost too much money. They are looking for more Concords and High Guards. The gaming industry is being destroyed on the inside. And yes, gamers are willing to show up and monetarily support good products. If that was not the case, and all of these studios were going under, and nobody was truly being able to get hired for all these different projects, we wouldn't see games like Expedition 33. We wouldn't see games like Elden Ring. We wouldn't see the Resident Evils, even. So we are talking about them dramatizing the situation for sympathy points, which is such a major issue in this industry. Everybody wants to play the fucking victim instead of take a little bit of accountability. So I'll be keeping a close eye on this. Doesn't look very good for Reese, and it just goes to show that these video game journalists, in this case, he calls himself a video game developer interviewer, doesn't truly understand the state of the industry when he's starting out with, I don't think gamers really understand. Brother, I don't think you understand that gamers really don't care when activists who have destroyed this industry are having a little bit of a tough time finding their next paycheck. But that's all that I had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.